Dear Deacon Tassang, this is Dr. Ayaba. I have been reading a couple of your public statements, and I find it very interesting. But I think it's important that I make this response to one of them in particular, because the problem we face in this struggle is because we define our truth as the truth, which is consequential. Our truth is subjective. The truth is objective and requires a lot of things to be done before you can basically draw conclusions about objective truth. A few days ago, I asked you a question when you forwarded one of your write-ups to me. And I asked, why is it so difficult for just the 11 of you who were arrested to get kidnapped together to collaborate? I cannot understand. And that's why I'm really surprised that 11 of you who've been at the center of the call for unity are unable to collaborate in a very small space. And you explained to me that you're going to stand where there is the truth and that you wouldn't blink. And I wished you well. And I hope that's the case. But that's not the subject of my response. In one of your letters, you said, you attacked. No, let me withdraw the word attack, because I don't think that was the case. You wrote that the nationalist movements that have been in our struggle for a long time, there were people inside who did not want to tolerate the so-called newcomers. Absolutely wrong. Absolutely not true. And I'll tell you why. You remember our meeting when I flew into Nigeria, I think for the third or fourth conclave. But before that conclave, Siseko had sent me an invitation. And you informed me that I should come earlier, because they were basically planning to have meetings before. I honored your invitation and I came earlier. I moved to your hotel very early the next morning with my vice president. We met you with Mr. Mbianda and Princess Harriet. I wanted to have an understanding why you were even still part of that network. Because all along, we had wanted you to abandon that network. You told me you wanted Milan out. What I'm explaining here is critical, because this is based on our discussion. You said you wanted Milan out. And I told you that Siseko relies on Milan. And I asked you, what if Siseko decides to boot out because Milan is out? I was asking him because I explained that we will be facing a big problem. It will be perceived as a Savannah State coup d'etat against Siseko. And I explained to you, we cannot go down that path. We cannot be seen to go down that path. And I suggested that let us allow Siseko at the top. Siseko is not only a newcomer, we can call him a newest comer. Let's allow Siseko at the top, and maybe Milan in a position that does not confer to him a lot of powers. That if we can go down with that formula, it will maybe allow Seseko to stay and satisfy you and most of us. I think because you and myself held the same position. Milan was the cancer of the revolution. And we had to go attend the conclave. None of us even knew where the conclave was holding, not even yourself. So to claim that, the nationalists didn't accept the newcomers is totally wrong. Because the first conclave, when Bala was made the face of the struggle, and I think Barrister Yambe, I don't know what position he was given. I argued against. I said, if we want to make... First, I rejected the notion of Bala being made the face of the struggle, because I've never trusted Bala as someone who really wanted our independence. You can confer such authority to such a very unpredictable person. So I rejected that notion completely. And I proposed, before the resolution was even made public, that was the first conclave, before Seseko even came into the picture. If we get Barrister Yambe from the Atlantic state as the head, we should get Dr. Mfo from the Savannah state, from the nationalists, as the deputy. That was my suggestion. If we got you from the northern state, from the civil society as the head, we should get Dr. Akwanga from the southern states, from the nationalists, as the deputy. That was the suggestion. Still putting you people, so-called newcomers, at the fore. There has never been any time that not me, not even the Dr. Akwanga that we disagree. He even accepted at one stage that, okay, we could let Seseko be at the top. If he will accept that, we will meet and be the ones to elect the leader based on the composition of SCACUF. So you realize here that the truth is simply your truth. Once you wrote that we should consider all of you people in prison as dead. And we said that couldn't be the case, because prisoners hold a lot of powers as far as liberation struggles are concerned. I know you have disagreements with the NERA 10. And I don't want to get inside. It's none of my concern. I think you people will find your way to resolve it. Because I also think you people have always found a way when your desire for power is threatened. You people have made compromises amongst yourself to keep the so-called nationalist leaders out of the line of power. So I pretty suggest, and I think that you people will make amends. But your assertion that the nationalist leaders have always been against newcomers is not right. It's not right from Boya when we held the meeting to bring people together. My delegation was there. And once we produced the documents, you refused to sign, Bala refused to sign. And I think it's very critical that when we use the truth as the fundamental premise of our argument, it should be handled in a subjective rather than an objective way. Because when you are assertive in the propagation of subjective opinion, you are going to create more confusion. I might put out my opinion and make it really sound like an opinion that is subject to scrutiny. It will give room for debate and for all of us to come out with an objective point of reference. But when I propagate my subjective position as objective, universally applicable, it will invite contestation, and if not rejection and confrontation. And so I've decided to do this in public because your epistle is of public knowledge. And it is critical that we shouldn't, do a lot to increase the divide. I always hold you people in jail with high respect. You made your mistakes. Seseko has made his mistakes. I would always prefer both of you to act like statesmen, to avoid immersing yourself in the deep political confusion that is out here. You should be a reference point, both of you, and I told Seseko this too. Come across as statesmen, not members or leaders of any platform. Because prisoners of war like yourself are statesmen. Mandela was a statesman. Even though he was in the ANC, he was a statesman. That tried as much as possible to use his position as a point of cohesion rather than division. And I will call on you and appeal to you. You might, in your private dealings, orientate towards what directions that you feel comfortable. But it is very critical to avoid public writings or statements that seems to increase the wound rather than heal them. Thanks.